It would seem as though. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
Welcome
How
to another week
are ya?
of It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
Mostly nothing.
Mostly.
Today we have some things to talk about.
Some things.
Last week we had some things to talk about, but we never got around to
Because
it.
what did we talk about?
What didn't we talk about? We talked
Everything.
about
Oh, right. It was
all
kind of
kinds
all over
shit.
the place.
Racism.
Sure. It's a common
and
topic.
I'm trying to remember what all we talked about because we kind of talked about everything.
Yeah, it
and
ran
then
the
so
gamut.
when I was at the end of it trying to kind of fill in the here's what we talked about this week
Yeah.
and give it a title, I'm all this is going to be a challenge because we didn't even get to our topic,
No.
which we had one.
Mhm.
We did have one.
Which was black art.
Yeah.
Black artists.
Well, because this is the last week of Black History Month.
Yep. And we've barely talked about black history.
Right. Well, I mean, we talked about mostly about, since it's this year's theme
Yeah.
is, arts, Black history in the arts. We talked a lot about the Oscars specifically and how they
Yeah.
really have done a poor job of representing Black artists because very, very few have ever won, and one woman has won Best Actress in the 400 years of the Oscars. So it's just, that's kind of where our focus has been with that.
Yeah.
But, again, we didn't get that far last week.
No.
We started talking about other things. But because this is the last week, we certainly want to talk about that. And I do have some topics, so we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Vesta.
Oh, that was a non sequitur if I've ever seen one in my life.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Annika. You're saying blah 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 blah.
Oh, by the
I'm
way,
Vesta.
in case you forgot who I am,
I
well,
know.
people might not know.
Right, all the people
who listen to us, all
Yeah,
4 of them.
and by the 3rd season, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
they're
maybe,
aware.
who don't know, we might have a new listener.
Maybe.
Maybe.
we? Might we?
I have to ask you.
Okay.
Have you had any dealings with the woman who's doing the Who the Fuck Did I Marry series?
So we talked about this the other day. I watched like the recap of it.
So a synopsis, basically.
Yeah, bitch, because I watched Spark Notes, because very similar to you, if the story isn't good, and her storytelling's great, I love it. I've seen bits and pieces, but I haven't watched the whole thing, because it's literally like 48 fucking hours or something.
It's 48 parts.
Okay, that's what it is.
And
48
each
parts.
part is 10 minutes. You do the math.
No, girl, that's a lot.
That's 480 minutes.
That's a lot of minutes.
That's more than, Lord of the Rings. And I'm all...
And girl.
And I found her story more interesting and relatable than Lord of the Rings.
No, but I did watch it, and I saw it also, there was a response from the quote-unquote husband. It could have been not real, though. It could have just been someone been like, oh, I'm the guy she's talking about. You know what I mean? For clout or whatever. But that story's cuckoo crazy.
Yeah, if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, it's on the Ticking Talk.
Risa, is that her name?
Risa.
Yeah.
Risa Tisa, I think, right?
Okay, something like that.
Something like that. And so many people have made other videos talking about her videos.
Megan fucking Trainor and her husband were like tuning into our favorite show and just started to watch her
the Risa Tisa show.
Yeah.
Or the Who the Fuck Did I Marry show.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, and I saw like this video of someone going, you're supposed to be doing this. Like, yeah, I'm just watching my favorite show. And it's like sitting watching her videos.
Yeah.
But it's a commitment.
Yeah.
And I watched, I think I got through 10 of them.
Okay.
So even that, practically 2 hours worth.
Girl, yeah, that's an hour and 40 minutes.
So for those of you who know nothing about it, this woman met a man in the now conventional way of online.
Mm-hmm. And the pandemic hit, right?
Right. They met shortly before the pandemic, started dating. He seemed like a great guy, great job, all the things, great.
Great.
And it turns out he was not. They ended up moving in together beginning of the pandemic because they didn't want to either one quarantine alone.
Yeah, they wanted...
And she had just met this guy and was all hot and heavy, but she also had that religious aspect where it's like shacking up with somebody was against her beliefs. But it was like, but she also, which is stronger, the belief or the not wanting to quarantine alone?
Yeah.
So
not wanting to quarantine
she
alone.
chose to not quarantine alone.
Yeah.
And not very much time passed before she marries this dude. But here's what I don't understand.
Tell me.
She married this dude after she knew that he had some issues with the truth.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
because their whole thing was they were gonna. She found out pretty quickly she was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so then they were gonna buy a house because she's like, I'm not raising a child in this apartment or wherever the hell she lived, and she also didn't want to raise a child in that county because she wanted to raise somewhere else where there were better schools and all that. It's like, cool, I get all that. So they're going to buy this house. They found this house they like. He put a down payment on the house, and he felt the thing. See, here's what I don't get.
Okay.
If you're buying a house with somebody, why wouldn't you be there every step of the way?
Oh yeah.
Going, okay, I now see that you've signed the cashier's check over or whatever.
Yeah.
I need my name on this too, because I'm not even thinking about getting a house with someone else if my name is not on the agreement. Yeah, no. No. And so, but turns out that there was no house.
Okay.
Well, there was a house, but there was no loan, because he kept saying, oh, they're pushing it back, or they pushed back the inspection date, or blah, 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 and it was always something.
Sure. And it's easy to lie about that shit, because, girl, we had a house built. We know it takes
it
forever.
Takes forever.
Yeah.
Well, and so eventually she's like, this feels fishy to me.
Sure.
Because it shouldn't take this long.
Right.
Because it wasn't being built. It was already a built house. It was just on the market. Right? And so she went and went back online where they had originally seen it.
Yeah.
And then she called the listing agent.
Oh, sure.
Not
okay.
the agent that boyfriend had been dealing with.
Oh.
Because the agent he was dealing with was a friend.
Sure.
And she was all,
Sketchville, USA.
Calls the agent and said, hey, I'm interested in looking at this house. And she's like, oh, it's already sold. It's off the market. Which, had they bought it, it should have been off the market.
Yeah. So
she was like, oh, okay. Well, because, I had a couple friends who were looking at it. Well, did they buy it? Did Bill and Betty buy it? And she was like, no, it was this nice old white couple.
Oh, shit.
And it was like, okay, thank you so much. I guess, you snooze, you lose. I missed that house, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This was before they got married.
Detectiving. Girl.
Yeah, detectiving. And then, another thing, she, at some point, talked to his brother, because he was supposed to have a twin brother.
Right.
And then, a couple other siblings. And according to twin brother, he was it.
Okay.
There were no other siblings.
Well, because I thought it was that, he was basically being impostering his twin brother. Saying he had
And that.
Okay, he was saying he worked where his twin brother works.
Right.
So that he drove, or whatever, all
his
those
whole
things.
story was all his brother's story.
That cuckoo crazy.
Cuckoo crazy as well. So how... I was married to a pathological liar. And I will tell you that you can catch them red-handed in a lie, and they just shift the lie.
Yeah,
and they never say, oh, shit, I'm sorry. Never.
No.
Never. I swear to God, you could, have a whole jury go, yeah, no, he did. We all heard it, we saw it, we whatever, and they would be like, well, you misunderstood.
Well, if it's that, or it's justification. I lied to you because, right? Or they just keep lying.
Or they keep lying.
Yep.
And that was my experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes even when the truth was better than the lie, they would still lie. And it's like, why? What is the point of that? Anyway.
What a mental shortcoming.
So her whole thing is how that all came about.
Sure.
But she married him anyway, but then she divorced him and blah, blah, blah. And it was all the things.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's, it's an epic mini-series.
Sure.
That you have to devote your life to.
Yeah.
So, Miss Risa Tisa,
good
for you. You have captured the attention of America.
Of America, at least,
so,
okay, so that's top news. There's something else I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the man? He was 25 years old. His name is Aaron Bushnell. And he was he was a part of the Air Force.
Okay.
Active duty. I don't say this word ever correctly, self-immolation. Okay. So he set himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C.
What?
He said, I will no longer take part in this genocide. I can't believe this is happening. And martyred himself in front of the Israeli embassy.
I could see, I quit.
But you can't quit. Girl, you're a part of the military. How are you going to quit? They're going to put you in the brig forever. You're going to go to military jail.
Yeah. But I think that would be preferable to setting yourself on fire.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people are...
No, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, a lot of the mainstream media is not really trying to talk about it.
Well, I'm sure not.
There's images of him dousing himself. There's images of him setting himself. The image of him on fire is a thing.
Yeah.
And he's like saluting, and he's on fire.
Oh,
it is crazy. And you want to know what though? You want to know what I want to say about that? I say, snaps, bitch. Like, I understand that it's upsetting, and he shouldn't have to do that, but there shouldn't be genocides going on. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And imagine how fucked he feels. And mentally fucked for the rest of your life. There's an ongoing genocide that people are witnessing, and, there's
and you're taking part in it.
And you're taking part in it. So how do you live the rest of your life if you say, oh, I was active duty during the Israeli-Hamas quote-unquote war, People are going to know, if you're an American soldier... People are going to know.
You were on.
Yep.
Yes.
And how fucked. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, because I do believe that when it's all said and done, when we reach whatever the inevitable end is to this, that there will be a right side of history, and most people will not be on it, or most people on this continent, or most, because we as a government, we as a country are supporting this genocide.
Well, and the thing that I know is going to happen is how many people that are supporting it, my age, even a little older, who are going to have children, they're going to lie to their faces, they're going to lie to their children's faces, saying that they supported Palestine this whole time, when they didn't.
Right.
Because a lot of the time, and this just happens because we are citizens of a nation, often the populace of a nation will just follow what the government does, thinking that's morally sound, right? But again, I will always go back to legality and morality are never the same thing, and the government is 99% of the time not on your side. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
The government, specifically in the world we live in the capitalist world, isn't there to actually protect and help and save people.
No.
Because if that were the case, we would have socialized literally everything. You know what I mean?
They're there to protect the GNP.
That's it.
It's like, we want to make sure that we keep making money, and that the richest people keep making money, and that the people at the bottom keep toiling to make everybody money.
We have to
and that's kind of it.
We have to keep the oil on these cogs to keep it going, because if not, then it all crashes, right?
Which is, of course, why, they're so freaked out about the population decrease. The fact that people your age and younger aren't having as many children, or aren't having children, period.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't want to bring kids into this fucked up world.
Well, and isn't that so, it's ironic to me, and this ties into one of the things we want to talk about, the whole embryos are children thing, right? But there's this whole push to, now Roe versus Wade was overturned in the U.S., and the whole push, like, pro-life and always give birth, basically forcing birth, but you are making people who can give birth have children in a world that can't support that, right?
Right.
And technically, yes, there's no reason that there is hunger in the world. There's no reason. It's only because of capitalism that there is, right? Because money needs to be made and nothing is for free. But
when I learned that farmers are often paid to not grow crops. Yeah. So they're paid to control the amount of food they produce so that they don't produce too much, so the prices don't, don't inflate, whatever. It's like,
well, because if you make too much of it, it'll drop the price, right?
Exactly.
So if you make a scarcity, you're creating scarcity. But one of but that's everything in our culture, right? And so sometimes even donating money or feeding the homeless, a lot of times, depending where you are, it's illegal.
Yes.
Which is insane. When I worked at Starbucks, we had different rules about what free things we could give away. We donated food, so somebody would always come pick it up and take it to whatever donation center, whoever they worked for. But they just make so many barriers to trying to help the needy, right? But there's no reason for it. So my point is there's no reason to have any of these issues that we have. It's all just strictly based on class and capitalism and how much money you have. But yeah, so the world is shifting dramatically. I think I talked about on the podcast. Maybe I just told you, but I think it's really telling that Israel itself, the last quarter of last year, its GDP...
No, we did. We talked about that last week.
Dropped 20%, and it's only... And economists are foreseeing that's going to happen, just going to continually keep dropping because of how people aren't supporting Israel anymore. The world's super changing. It's really crazy. And then talking about moving on to the embryo or children thing, because we were talking about that because in Alabama, they're trying to pass a law. Someone sued someone... Nonsense, saying that embryo are children.
Somebody sued an IVF clinic, and I think it was for mishandling of their They're embryos.
Okay.
They're frozen embryos.
Sure.
Because they were no longer viable.
Okay.
And if I read that, because I read a couple articles on it, not sure I still understand the whole thing.
Yeah.
But then the Supreme Court of Alabama said, well, these are children, so that's child abuse and child neglect and whatever. It's like, they're embryos.
Yeah, that's not a child.
They're a clump of cells.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, I don't care what your belief is. I don't care what your religion is. Science.
Yep.
Okay? It's a little clump of cells. There's no heartbeat. There's no nothing.
There's no nothing. No.
It is literally a little tiny microscopic clump of cells.
I encourage anybody who says this to do their own little experiment. Why don't you get some embryos, put them in the freezer, see if they survive? Guess what? They will survive and they'll still be viable. Now I want you to take a child and put it in the freezer. Now you tell me, does it survive?
I think it'll...
Yeah, you're going to open that freezer, you're going to have a block of human that's dead.
Oh.
So my point is embryos, and that major factor that we can put both in the freezer and one's going to come out dead and one's going to come out fine. Like, that... Bitch, shut the fuck up. Like, I just think it's so irritating, and it's so ignorant for when people just want to equate things to being a human life.
Yeah.
All things have life. That's like the building blocks of life. But to classify something as a life is nonsensical to me when it's literally a group of cells.
The Alabama Supreme Court ruled last week that frozen embryos created through in vitro fertilization, or IVF, are considered children under state law and therefore subject to legislation dealing with the wrongful death of a minor if one is destroyed.
Jesus Christ.
So then what if you go in for IVF treatment, they put in however many eggs they're going to put in, or how many embryos, whatever, and none of them take?
Yep.
Well, then are you the murderer, or is the doctor the murderer?
And is it a case for every embryo?
Yeah. So the Wrongful Death of a Minor Act applies to all unborn children, regardless of their location. The opinion states, including unborn children who are located outside of a biological uterus at the time they are killed.
Jesus fucking
That
Christ.
is so fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's dumb as shit.
Well, and so it says the immediate impact of the ruling will be to allow 3 couples to sue for wrongful death of their frozen embryos, which were destroyed in an accident at a fertility clinic.
Okay, this is what I will say. If I was one of those couples and I went in and all of this was happening, right? And the clinic was at fault for destroying the embryos. Yeah, I would sue them. But I wouldn't sue them saying like, oh, you
murdered
killed
my
a child.
Right.
I would be like, this cost money. This took time.
A lot of money.
I had to probably take hormones or whatever it is. I don't know what they do. But then you have to scoop out shit from me. The whole in vitro nonsense. That costs money. And then if it was your fault and you fucked it up, then you're going to pay me and I'm going to sue you. But I'm not going to sue you thinking that you killed a child.
No.
I'm going to be like,
no.
this was...
And that's it, because it makes sense that I've paid you a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And however it happened, you failed at your job, and now it's no longer viable.
Yep.
And all of that makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. However...
yeah, you've crossed the line to me now.
That is not a child.
Yeah.
You know. And in the same state, they're also telling people that they're limiting accessibility to birth control. So you just want every child... So you can't get an abortion there. Mm-mm. And you are having trouble getting birth control. What the actual fuck are they thinking? It really is that whole thing of, we need all the children born because we need the workers.
That's it. Well, that's it, though, because people are freaking out. And there is a point, like, I don't know what the minimum number is. I talked about it in one of my classes. There's a minimum number of people who have to live on the planet for the planet to keep functioning as is, right?
Right.
We are well past that number. Do you know what I mean? We are billions. Like, we are well past that number. And the fact of the matter is there is still a huge population. People who look further into, a lot of it's government, a lot of it's family planning, look into it, if it continues as it is, because, like, think about it. Gavin has 2 brothers, none of them are having children. Do you know what I mean? All 3 of those boys are having kids. But the scare is, right, if we just keep decreasing population, oh no, the world won't function. Also, if our nation, the United States, keeps shrinking in population, they can't keep claiming that we're a superpower. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And we hate to lose that.
And we're not, though. But I want everyone to know that that's a guise. That's a mask. We are not that. We haven't been that in a long, long time. You know what I mean? What makes us... We have a military strength that, like, outnumbers most nations. That is it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We are not a superpower. We are not the nicest. We are kind of, to other nations, a lot of the time we are the terrorists. We are the instigator. We are the bad guy. And I think people need to realize that. No matter how good your life is, in your own little bubble, in your own little world, America, the United States, is the asshole to several South American nations, to Mexico, to the Middle East, you know what I mean? To a lot of Asia. And so that's when I say, you know, you will be the bad guy in somebody's story.
Yeah.
As Americans, we are.
We're the bad guy
whether
in
we
a
want
lot
to
of people's story.
Yeah. So that's why it's important. That's another reason it's important, actually, for you people as Americans to use your voice in dissent to whatever America stands for.
Well, speaking of dissent, the one judge who was like saying no to this said, no court anywhere in the country has reached the conclusion the main opinion reaches. Justice Greg Cook wrote in his dissenting opinion of the case, adding that it almost certainly ends the creation of frozen embryos through in vitro fertilization in Alabama. And because of this, several clinics have already closed.
Holy shit, okay.
And then, I don't know, do you call up people and go, I hope you have a freezer, we're closing, and we've got your embryos, but we are not doing anything because if we accidentally, you know, if we have a power outage, if we have whatever, and I assume they have backup power.
Sure, but something.
But, you know, it's like, whatever, you're going to say we murdered your children? Because I imagine being sued in a civil suit, you know, for money, because I paid you all this money and you didn't get, you know, deliver the product, is much, much different than a criminal of you murdered children.
And I can't believe that. Like, what's so crazy to me is if there was an accident or this clinic was responsible for killing the embryo, okay. But, like, then you want to sue that person who was dealing with the most delicate, intimate part of your life, the thing you wanted so much that you were willing to spend tens of thousands of dollars to have it done, and now you're just going to rip that person apart. And now look what it's done. It's ruined in vitro fertilization in Alabama.
Yeah.
So all those people who want to have babies, who needs assistance, are going to have to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucked.
Well, now, to be fair, I don't know why anybody would live in Alabama.
Girl, fucking me either. It is. Oh.
It's so backwards.
It is so backwards. That is one thing I wonder, though, about the future of the states in our world is oppressive and ignorant laws keep being pushed. Legislation keeps happening that favors ignorance over, like, you know, logical thinking or humanity. At what point does this all break down? At what point is it so broken? Because I don't know. I think about often how there's so many horrible things that happen. Everyone's like, but look at the bright side, the silver lining. There shouldn't have to be a silver lining. We should be able to live in a nation that is fruitful and beautiful. We shouldn't have to live in a storm cloud and be like, oh, but that one great thing, because that's fucked.
Right.
We're so conditioned to think that, you know, the whole...
It's the whole at least.
Yeah, at least this.
Well, at least...
It could be worse.
Everybody didn't die.
Yeah.
Well, at least... You know, whatever. And it's like, no.
Well, at least, you know, and like the whole idea of, here's an example. A couple examples. A teacher had cancer and had used all their sick days, so they couldn't go to treatment anymore without missing, you know what I mean, without being like fired. So other teachers were donating their PTO to this teacher.
Right.
And everyone's like, that's very sweet, that's very cute. It is, it's very sweet, it's very nice. It is tragic that we live in a fucking world where that needs to happen.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
The fact that I have to now get paid time off from other people and, you know, take their time because I'm dying possibly. And you are like, well, that's too bad. I'm sorry. That's all we can...
Fucked.
Yeah. I don't...
Crazy.
It doesn't make any sense to me. But speaking of terrible legislation...
I'm ready.
This morning, I was listening to an interview. Stephen Colbert was interviewing Ruby Bridges.
Love.
Now, for the one person maybe in the world who doesn't know who Ruby Bridges is, she was the first little girl who, when they started integrating schools... Was that also in Alabama?
I was going to say, it was in Alabama.
Alabama. She was 6 years old, and they bused her to this school, and her first day of school... She's met outside the school by U.S. Marshals to walk her into the school. Now, she's also met by a shit ton of people protesting.
A white mob.
Who is mad. They're mad.
Full-grown adults.
This
little 6-year-old girl.
Mad that this beautiful little 6-year-old is coming to your school.
Yep.
because, your children are going to have to sit next to a black girl.
Yeah.
You're whatever. And it's like, so after she got there, they took her into the school, these U.S. Marshals.
Yeah.
And the mob followed.
Uh-huh.
And as the mob followed, they literally took all of their children out of the school. 500 children they took out of school because, they might come close to this little black girl.
Because they might catch black.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And teachers quit as well. Because they were like, we're not teaching this little child. And I know that they said all the words that we would never say.
Oh, absolutely.
And all the hate and all the ugliness.
Towards a little baby.
A little, beautiful little baby girl who's 6 years old. And who, by the way, I never knew why her parents said, yeah, let's do this. She was, her parents are sharecroppers.
Okay.
So education was a luxury for them.
Yeah.
And she, because I heard her saying this morning, she said education was a luxury for them. And so when somebody came to them and said, hey, how do you feel about this? Sending your baby girl to this school. We will take her to school. We will pay for transportation. This will probably get her through school and probably college also. Yeah. And they jumped at the chance because they didn't have any chance. Yeah. And they knew if it was just up to them, she would not have the same opportunities.
She'd be a sharecropper. Yep.
Well, so they had to bring in a teacher from somewhere else to teach her. And so literally that entire first year of her schooling, it was her and a teacher in her classroom.
That's my dream type of schooling, I want you to know. But I get it. I
get but it's fucked
awful.
up.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Well, and now...
Was the teacher a white woman? White man?
Yeah.
Okay,
it was a white woman. Who
least...
they brought in from another school district who was like, yeah, I'll teach this little girl.
Yeah.
But the other thing that made me think of this as we were talking about crazy legislation is in the same places, they have now banned so many books that talk about this, that talk about how things really were in this time and before, talk about how black people and all people of color were treated in this country, how, all of the things. And so books are being banned by people who, by the way, never read these books.
Who don't know how to read.
Now, if you wanted to say, you know what, Annika, I don't want you as my child to read this book.
Yeah.
That's your right.
As a parent, you get to say that. Yeah.
But I don't want any children to read this book because I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't want you to experience things that I don't like. Well, that's not how the world's supposed to work.
Also, things that experiences that you don't like, maybe someone else's normal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, talking about being the only black kid in a school, or talking about being in a wheelchair, or being a queer kid, or whatever, you may not like that, and that may be different to you, but that is somebody else's life.
Yes.
And so all you're saying is, everyone who looks like me, and acts like me, and thinks like me, gets to be in books that children get to read about.
Right. Well, and then one of the things they said,
ignorant,
that he said to her when he was interviewing her is, the books that she has written have also been banned.
That's crazy to me.
Because she tells very honestly about her story and how these crazy-ass white people were so mad at a 6-year-old and were ugly and screaming hateful things and threatening her life. She's 6.
I know.
If she was 6 with a Tommy gun,
girl,
okay, I see a problem.
But like adults, in the pictures of it, I hope all these old people, they probably died, at this point. But I hope you suffered, bitch, because how dare you?
Yeah.
And I hope your children live with that on their minds for the rest of their lives. Being like, Ruby Bridges has this notoriety and this fame just because of who she is. Because she was the first little black girl in Alabama to go be integrated into a white school. But all those kids who were removed from the school and were shitty to her, like, I hope you look back and you feel fucking shame.
The one that I always think about is that one woman, that one white woman, who they show the picture of, she's behind them. And just you can see the ugliness and the hatred on her face. I hope until the day she dies, if she's still alive, but she shouldn't be that old, and maybe in her 80s probably.
Yeah.
I hope to God that every time she sees that picture, because it does come up.
All the time.
I hope every time she sees it, she feels deep, deep shame.
Yep. Agreed.
And it's like, I get that people change and they grow and they learn and they whatever, but you had so much hate in your heart for this beautiful little baby girl.
It's crazy.
Because she was black.
It's so weird to me that white people specifically, were so, like, half of their personality was who they fucking hated. And it still is.
It still is.
And it's tiresome to me. Like, you have that much energy, but you've never been through a thing then. You have that much energy to put that much to hate groups of people, whole swaths of the nation because they're different from you. Like, go get a fucking hobby. Like, you're boring and that's stupid. You know what I mean?
Well, but these books that they're banning, like, it's not just the ones about slavery. It's not just the ones where they say, look, Thomas Jefferson had one slave that he raped multiple times. And people like to paint that as, the love story between Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings. And it's like,
no.
That was not a love story. She was owned by him. And when he died, she was then owned by his wife. But it was like, but all of us, we're supposed to not think about that. We're supposed to not hear about that because you might feel bad about being white. Well, but they also banned books about internment camps.
Oh, God.
They banned books about the way people were mistreated in every single way that people of color that have been mistreated by white people through history. Well, we don't want you to read about that because my little child who's white, they might feel some kind of way about it. Well, they might, but good. Hopefully they'll read that and they'll go, this was fucked up. Yeah. This should never happen. Well, because it isn't their parents who did it.
No.
And so if you go, God, George Washington by the time he was 18 years old, owned 18 slaves. 18 slaves to basically a child. But he owned grown people.
Yeah.
He owned them like they were property. And I was talking to my children about this morning. It's like the idea, just the mere idea that you own another human being and you can do what the fuck ever you want with them. You can sell them. You can beat them. You can rape them. And nobody's going to do a fucking thing about it.
Nope.
And it's like... that
horrifying.
Yes, if you read that story, yes, you should be horrified.
Yeah.
Yes, you should go, oh my God, we come from some pretty dark shit.
Yeah.
But that's how you don't repeat history, is by really learning it and going, this can never happen again.
Yeah. Well, and if you're going to project that much upset on your children because you feel upset, because you feel, oh my God, they're trying to make me feel bad for being white. But little white children who read these stories, who learn the truth about history, aren't like, oh, I hate myself for being white. They feel bad for the person who was abused in the story.
Yes.
They feel bad that black little child was beat. They feel bad for Ruby Bridges. Like, that is what happens. They don't feel like, well, I'm white, so I should die. Like, again, I am very white. And I grew up learning about, like, oppression and injustice. And, like... And so I don't hate myself for being white. I don't like most other white people. But I don't like most other people. But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make me... There's not that internal, like, anti-whiteness to myself, right?
Right.
Because when people around me say, oh, fucking white people, or that's white people shit, I'm not like, oh my God, me?
No.
Because I
at least once a day will be like,
white people. Because that's not me, bitch. Like, I know I'm white. I'm not oblivious that I'm not, right? But when someone says white people, I know that they're not talking about me because I'm not talking out my ass. I'm not out of pocket. I'm not behaving in a way that would be disrespectful.
First Karen, of all, you're not.
I'm disrespectful to everybody, but I'm disrespectful to everybody equally.
Right. But it's different.
Yeah, it's not based on anything so superficial of like, oh, you're black. Oh, I have to be mean to you and I hate you because of that. Like, that's...
See, and even as a child. Yeah. So when people say this was the norm, this is how they grew up, this is what they knew.
Yeah.
That to me is a bullshit excuse because even as a child, I was like...
Horrified
at the idea and mystified at the idea that you could hate someone because they had more melanin than you.
Weird, right?
It's like, and then you're going to go try and tan yourself black.
Yeah, girl.
Because you want to be that dark. But you hate people who are dark. You hate people who have any kind of complexion darker than yours. But you want to have that.
You want to emulate everything, though. That is the most fascinating thing to me, is that, outside of the 90s, having big boobs and a thick butt and thick thighs and thick lips, like, all of that those are just black women naturally. Do you know what I mean? Often. Yes. I mean, again, that's generalizing.
Not always, right.
But, stereotypically, you know what I mean? And so now there's these white women who are pumping their lips every second they get, and they are pumping their cheekbones again, which is a more,
and getting a
unless
BBL.
You're getting BBL, getting boob jobs.
By the way, that's a
Brazilian butt
Brazilian
lift.
butt lift.
It just means getting your butt done like you get your boobs done. But they're doing all of these things. Or there's the fitness girlies who all they're doing is working out and getting huge butts, right? But it's weird. It's just weird because there's this internal anti-blackness and hate in the United States of America because we're in the United States of America.
Yes.
And our history. But now the main cultural ideal look is big lips, big boobs, big butt, tanned skin. Right? And I'm why do you hate black people
because
so
look
much?
at all of the Kardashians.
All of them.
All of them have had their faces and their bodies carved up to look like other people. And mostly to look like people of different cultures, because those girls started out as a bunch of plain-looking white girls.
It's what's funny to me. What is so funny to me? And Kylie and Kendall are the two Jenner children.
Right.
They're just white people.
Yes, both their parents are white.
Caitlyn and Kris Jenner are white people, like full. One of my favorite things to do was watching over the years the ever-changing face of Kylie Jenner.
Yes,
because she went from like a thin-lipped, plain, kind of thick-nosed, little freckled white girl to now. She's racially ambiguous. Her lips are the size of the rest of her face. She is plumped and tucked, and by the time she was 18. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when she was 17...
Well, because she's not a human, she's a product.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly it.
They're, Kris Jenner, their momager, she was brilliant, but honestly, what kind of life is that? I couldn't imagine. Like, no matter... being famous was something that I thought I wanted, but looking at the Kardashians, that's never anything I could ever hope to want ever in my life,
No.
It is nauseating to me to think about. But anyway, what else?
Well, one of the other things I wanted to talk about was a much lighter topic.
Okay.
Because being Black History Month and being about artists, I wanted to talk about black folks on the country music charts.
Okay.
Because
I don't know if I know that.
It's a rarity.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I want to talk about this one. Okay.
The first black... Actually, just see if you... I think... Did we talk about this? The first black group on the country charts. Group of black women.
Yeah, we talked about it before. It wasn't that long ago. Right?
Oh, it wasn't that long ago that we talked about it? It was long ago that it happened.
Wait, what's their name?
The Pointer Sisters.
Oh yeah, no, different.
Yeah. It was in the 70s. They wrote a country song, and it actually charted on the country charts, which was like, that had never happened before. Yeah. There was a couple people who were regulars on the country charts, like Charlie Pride.
Yeah.
He had regular hits, and he was kind of the one and only. It's like, here's our look, we're diverse. Here's our one black country singer.
See, he's black. Yeah.
And I think that now, it's becoming a thing that there are actual people who are dedicated country singers, not just crossover artists, who I think that a lot of that trend for now, because it is mostly in the last few years but the country artist who remade Tracy Chapman's Fast Car.
Okay, recently?
Yeah.
Luke Combs.
Luke Combs.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And everyone now knows that song, whether you're country, whether you're pop, whether you're whatever, because it also crossed over from the country charts to the pop charts.
Yep.
And it was like, this was written by a queer black woman. And it was a hit by a queer black woman. And now it's, this white man. And we talked about that before, but it's also now other people are trying to, kind of get in on the act. Beyonce now has a country song.
It just dropped, and literally if I hear it one more fucking time, I might just kill myself. Because here's the thing, I've heard it so many fucking times, because it's everywhere. It's all over social media, it's in everything. People are using it for fucking everything. And it's fine, I just don't get it. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I mostly don't care, and growing up I used to say that I didn't like country. That's not true. There's several country artists that I do love. And I grew up in 90s country. So, like, Reba McEntire, Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, all of that. That's, like, what I grew up with. Yeah. But I love Dolly Parton. I love Reba McEntire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That country's artists that I love. But I do love when Luke Combs performed at the Grammys. With Tracy Chapman was there as well. I want to talk about an artist who I don't think people consider country, but I kind of do in a way, because that's not his game. He's a rapper. It's Nelly. But Nelly has rapped on country songs has been on country songs with Tim McGraw.
I didn't know that.
He has there was an album called Country Grammar, or a song, I believe. A song called Country Grammar. Yeah, Homeboy, lots of his songs are kind of based in the country. He's from, like, Atlanta, I believe.
Right.
But maybe not city Atlanta.
Right.
So I think he might be a country boy, but
and Lil Nas X, the first time when he really came to the public attention was on Old Town Road,
Billy Ray.
which he did with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Yeah.
But it was like, wait, so this young, queer, black rapper is on the country charts?
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, wait, what? That's wild. I mean, the fact that he is so openly queer.
I love Lil Nas.
I mean, he is not pulling any punches with this queerness. He don't care. It's like, no, this is me. Look at me.
His music video for his next song was him giving a lap dance to the devil.
Well, I liked it.
I was upset.
I thought it was hot.
It was very sexy. But people were all obviously up in arms. Right. I was about it.
Yeah,
I was like, yes, queer boy, with your nails and your makeup and your wig, like your cornrows that are pink or whatever. Like, give the devil a lap dance.
Yeah.
A stripper pole. I'm about it.
So, Tina Turner.
Tina Turner.
And Tina Turner would not be somebody that I would think of.
No.
As, doing country. Yeah. But her first solo album was a collection of country songs.
Really?
And it earned her first Grammy nomination.
What song of Tina Turner's is country?
It was a whole album.
I know, that's crazy.
But I don't know. I don't know that any of it were hits.
Oh, okay.
But her first solo album, and it got her a Grammy nomination.
That's crazy.
I know, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Who was the other one? There's Chapel. I think they're called Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill, I think.
Yes.
All as 3 black women.
Yeah.
Doing country music because they grew up in the country. They grew up in a place called Chapel Hill,
North Carolina.
And they went on America's Got Talent. Did they win, or did they make it to the finals? They were one of those golden buzzer things, which means they go right to the finals.
It makes me think of the people who don't even win but are still so famous, like Fantasia Barrino. You know what I mean? Didn't win.
No, Fantasia won.
She did win.
But Jennifer Hudson,
J Hud, yeah, she did win.
Adam Lambert, those people.
Oh my God, Lambert, yep.
Those people won American Idol, or didn't win American Idol, and went on to become
hugely successful.
Jennifer Hudson. Let's talk about that for a second. I know we're talking about country music, but she is at her young age. Is she even 40 yet? She's got to be close.
I think so. I think she has to be.
Is an EGOT. She has an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony.
I had no idea.
Yes, at her end is like she's one of like a handful of women,
she's 42.
Black women. 42. She's one of like just a tiny handful of black women who are that, because Whoopi Goldberg is also, but I can't off the top of my head name very many.
I can tell you all the Black EGOT winners.
Okay.
Viola Davis.
I didn't realize Viola was.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the Black EGOT winners.
Okay.
So Viola Davis, Jennifer Hudson, we already said, Whoopi Goldberg, John Legend, James Earl Jones, Harry Belafonte.
Okay.
Quincy Jones, and that's it.
That's it.
Wow. Those are all the Black EGOT winners. Crazy.
Well, and so Rita Moreno was the first Latina
That's crazy.
to be an EGOT. And it's like, so, and I know that probably doesn't sound like, because EGOT sounds like a weird thing, but it's like, really, it's huge and prestigious that you've won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony.
Well, and there's people who've been in the business forever and ever and ever, and the 2 people I think of who are white actresses are Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, who both are very awarded and have several of those awards, but are also not EGOT winners. You know what I mean? And they've been in the biz for what? 6 decades?
Yeah, I think Jane Fonda was a teenager.
And now she's 80-something?
Now I think she's 90, she's 88, I don't know, she's pretty high up in her 80s.
I want you to know that I love Jane Fonda.
I love her and I love Lily.
Same.
So while you're looking up that, Charlie Pride, who I mentioned before, who like everybody knows as, the one black country singer forever, was also inducted into the Grand Ole Opry.
Okay.
Which I think he might be the only one.
Okay.
But he won 3 Grammys, 3 CMA, which is the Country Music Awards.
Okay.
The Pioneer from the Academy of Country Music, and was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum. It's like, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Jane Fonda's 86.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think that being an EGOT winner is such a big deal, and that the fact that there's only like 8, you know what I mean?
Right. It's huge.
Yeah.
For those of you who are a little older, probably maybe your age, I don't know. Remember Hootie and the Blowfish? Darius Rucker, who was the lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish. When Hootie and the Blowfish kind of died down,
when they blew up,
I
don't know.
Whatever they did, whatever happened, but they were kind of out of the public eye for a while. He reinvented himself as a country singer.
Yeah, that's right. I wish I didn't think of his name.
And now, he's huge in the country scene. It's like, well, good for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I always wonder when that happens, when somebody's like, they were specifically known as a pop star or specifically on the pop charts, and they then go, okay, I'm going to be a country star now.
Yeah.
How well that's accepted from especially country audiences. They're like, okay, dude, you're a total poser.
Yeah.
You're not from, but he is actually from the country.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's that.
What is his name? There's a country singer. It's opposite of this. We know who he is. He's very famous, but he went to go have his like emo little pop star moment, and he did it under the name Chris Gaines.
Oh,
what's his name?
Garth Brooks.
Thank you. But it's so fucking funny to me. I think that's hysterical.
Well, what's funny to me about that? Well, what isn't funny about that?
Honestly,
so at that point, Garth
eyeliner,
Brooks is the biggest country singer in the world.
Yeah,
has the biggest concert tours, has sold the most albums, blah 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 blah. And then he's like, "But I want to do
pop.
I want to do a rock album or a pop album or whatever, and I want to look all different and call myself something different." It's like, why?
Yeah, and he did.
Yeah, if you wanted to do a non-country album, do it, dude. That's fine.
Do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
People are going to buy it. Your fans are going to buy it.
More people are going to buy it. But did he want to see if he had the talent under a different name? Do you know what I mean? Like, if he was actually good.
But how everybody knew it was him. There wasn't like they're going, who's this new artist?
Well, and there wasn't even a moment where people thought it didn't know. You know what I mean? Right. Everyone always knew it was him. Like, was that the case? Was the public ever aware? Knew. That is so funny to me.
Well, and what's funnier to me is that his management team tried to talk him out of it.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't think this is a great idea.
Look, Chris Gaines, I don't think we should do this.
No.
Yeah, weird, right?
No.
Anyway.
It's just Garth.
Oh, Garth. And I've never met a person named Garth.
No.
But
when I think of the only other Garth I can think of is Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Wayne and Garth.
Yeah, that's it.
So the other thing, it's funny, we were talking about crossing over and what have you, and so the only other person I can think of who did really successfully cross over country to pop, being Taylor Swift. Because for many years early in her career, it's like, people were like, she's not country. She doesn't... Her first couple albums were country, and they were successful.
Yeah. And
she always wore her little cowboy hat and whatever, and did everything. But then when she crossed over to pop, it got
wild.
More and more pop with each album. And now you can't even possibly go, well, she's a country artist. No, she's not.
Well, and I think that always Taylor Swift has been on that borderline of... she's been like country pop. She's been like that pop punk to what punk is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's pop country. She was never fully like... She wasn't a Faith Hill. Do you know what I mean? She wasn't like a Reba McEntire. But she was very poppy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always. But many of her songs have that country twang to it, have that same country rhythm.
But I think anymore, they're all just solid pop.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, and she went through her dark girl phase. When she wore all black.
All right, so moody. I realized we were talking about black artists and whatever, but while we're talking about Taylor Swift, I do want to say how hilarious I think it is that people on the right, not in the right, people on the right, are so mad at Taylor Swift because, she's dating, that football
Travis
player.
Kelce.
And she was at the football games and they showed her on the camera 150,000 times and she, is trying to lead her fan base into the Democrats and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's like...
What?
Her fan base most likely is going to be that anyway.
Yeah. Taylor has been very outspoken about liberal things Recently, because for a long time, the right was claiming her as, like, their Aryan princess, and she came out and said, no, ma'am. But it was a while. She took a while, took a beat, and then was like, no. And then she has become more outspoken, but for a long time, she was very neutral in everything. So people were able to adopt her again as, like, their KKK princess or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's funny to people think that, you know, Taylor Swift being at the Super Bowl, and if Taylor Swift is there and the Chiefs win, her boyfriend's team, if that's all people know, her boyfriend's team, if they win, then Joe Biden's going to win presidency. And I'm like, what? And there were TikToks, we talked about this last time, of full-grown women weeping, being like, Taylor Swift is there and her boyfriend won.
Well, and that's the other conspiracy theory, is that the whole game was rigged specifically so that he would be on the winning team, and he and Taylor together would go out and campaign for president, and everybody would follow them. And it's like, that is the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Ever. In my whole entire
life. And first of all, you know, I don't watch football.
No.
I don't give a shit about football. I did, however, watch parts of the Super Bowl because
Grace wanted to watch it, which is so funny.
And I will say that it was like right up to the last minute in overtime that they won. So it wasn't like, you know, this clear, you know, you
and it's
murdered them.
And like that moment, I'm sure, I don't care about football either, but in that moment when it's an overtime and it's neck and neck, I think that's exciting.
Yes,
it's electrifying.
I agree. But I don't do the sports.
No, I don't really care either.
Although I will tell you, while we're talking about sports, I had gone to the Portland Thorns game. So that's soccer, women's soccer specifically, and it was a playoff game.
Okay,
and I don't know about soccer.
Okay.
I know they're kicking a ball up and down the field. That's literally all I know.
That's all they're doing.
But I'm used to watching or seeing and knowing about other sports like they take 1,000,000 timeouts and those quarters or halves or whatever can last forever.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's like we took 500 timeouts. Mm-hmm. Well, in soccer, you don't take timeouts. The clock just keeps running.
Yeah.
They will, if you had to stop and do things, they will add a little bit of time to the end of the clock. But it's 2 90-minute, I think, 2 90-minute, whatever. Well, so I'm watching this game. Well, watching is generous.
Sure.
I'm at the game. I'm talking. I'm doing whatever. Probably playing on my phone, not caring about the game. And the teams were tied. And I was like, okay, they each have one or whatever. Because, in soccer, it's... Yeah. Well, and so I said, well, what happens if they don't score? And the guy in front of me was like, oh, well, if they don't score, they'll go into overtime.
Okay.
And
you said
they will go, if they don't anybody get ahead in that overtime, they'll go into a second overtime. Mm-hmm. And then if nobody gets ahead in that overtime, they will have like a sudden death kind of match where they're kicking. I was like, oh my God. So from that point, I was like, go, whoever's going to kick the ball, get me out of here.
Yeah, honestly.
Because I was like, I don't want to be here all day.
I've already been here for 3 hours.
I've been here too long, and the food's too expensive, and the drinks are too expensive, and I'm sitting in the sunshine, and that's definitely against my...
sports fans. I know.
You know?
Unless I get to be in Disneyland, I don't want to be in the sun.
No.
Agreed.
No.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and even then, it's like... How much time am I spending on these? No, I need to be in rides. I need to be...
honestly. What's so funny to me is I've been watching Superstore at night to go to bed. And we watched...
Which now I can talk to you about Superstore because I finished all 6 seasons.
And it's so great. You were weeping at the end because it's sweet as pie.
Yes.
But a Christmas episode played. And it gave me that feeling that Christmas everything always does, where I get that like happiness feeling and I love Christmas. And it's fucking almost March. And I'm like... I mean, summer's almost here. And Gavin and I last night were both like, summer sucks. Like, summer's so stupid. And I genuinely believe that. Because people are out more, it's warmer.
Yeah.
I've always equated fall and winter with nighttime, and I prefer that. I prefer when people aren't
being
there.
Being cool and cuddly.
I'm scared.
And,
yes. That's what I prefer.
I get that.
I know.
I totally understand that.
Summer's coming in, and I told him last night, like, we need to find a way to not hate it. You know? We have a little house. Let's just make our little yard what we want it. We can spend time outside. That'd be fine. I don't want to go and do things. And specifically during the summer, because all children are out of school and everyone takes vacation and people are always doing everything, and I hate it. Yeah, I'm not that person. I'm not that... People have so much seasonal depression during the fall and winter, and I'm, like, depressed during the summer. Right. I'm like, this sucks.
You're like, there's too much sunshine.
Yeah, there's too many of you.
There's too many people out in the world. Go home.
I'm okay with it being warm, because I used to dress like a thought, like a little hoe. I was wearing, short everything, crop top everything, so I like warm weather.
Sure.
But I didn't want to be...
Right. Speaking of warm weather, it's 10 weeks till we go on vacation.
I know, girl. Honestly, I can't even wait.
So I was talking to the kids, and Grace was like, I want to go now. Can we just go to Disneyland now?
Sure.
And I was like, yes, we will leave right now. I mean, we will have to find someone to take care of the dogs, watch the house, do the things. Because if we leave now...
Yeah.
And tickets will be super expensive because we bought them as we were going. Yeah. Whatever. And as I'm telling her this, she's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Not like getting the sarcasm of any... No. It's like, all right.
What's the problem?
So, should I lock up... Should I pack now?
You gonna put the dogs away?
It's like, no, we can't just up it. I mean, I would love to.
Yeah. Okay.
I would love to be financially in a place where I could be like, you know what? Let's go do this. Let's go take a weekend and go somewhere wild and fun and just on the spur of the moment. That would be lovely.
It'd be fun.
That would be fun. I've never had that. I've always been like, okay, I have to plan for about a year, save up enough money, make sure I have everything in place.
Yeah.
And of course, since we have 3 dogs...
Find somebody to watch your dogs.
And an old lady with dementia.
And it can no longer be your mother.
Right. Yeah. No, because when we went 2 years ago, and I thought that, we had it all under control. Because I was like, I will create... all the meals, every meal of the dogs ate was in little individual bags. All you had to do is look at the date, open the bag, pour it in a bowl. That's it. And if you didn't want to look at the date, all you had to do is pull out the next one. Mm-hmm. Right? And still, it was a problem. And I was like, why are there extras in this thing when we returned? And this dog is like square now.
Yep.
He's so fat.
You know what though? And it's funny talking about grandma. One of the things that frustrates me, I think the most about her is the fact that it's like, oh, well, why is this dog rail thin and starving to death and this dog is fat and there's extra food, like whatever. And she's all, well, I didn't know. She'll always be like, well, I didn't know. And there's never like, well, I'm sorry. There's never any of that.
No.
It's always just like, well, they were fat.
Well, it's like this morning when I said, I'm going over to Annika's so we can do our podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the dogs in their beds.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you could just leave them out with me. And I'm like, no, the last time I did that, a little fathead ate one of T's boots.
Expensive food.
And nothing. There's no response at all. And I said, yeah, I left him with you for 15 minutes because you said you'd watch him. And when I get home, he's in the middle of the floor eating a boot and you're downstairs. And her response was, oh. Not, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's never... And I get that she has dementia. I get that she has... But it's what's weird to me is that... Because I've never been around anybody else for any length of time who had dementia. I was around my stepfather, but I wasn't around him for long periods of time. Yeah. Is that all the pleasantries are gone.
Yeah.
All empathy is gone. I mean, literally, if I said to her, it's like, oh, I broke my arm today, she'd be like, well, I broke my arm when I was, whatever. It's never,
girl.
Oh my God, are you okay?
Yep. Well,
what do we need? No, it's always, well, yeah, that happened to me.
I know.
What?
I know. Well, I just dealt with that for these past 3 years with her and, like, me going to school, right?
Right.
Every time, it was either someone else in our family did just as well as I did, or when she was in school, when she graduated, and all the class, and she never did.
I'm going to clarify something.
Yeah.
So, you just graduated from college.
Yes.
With 2 degrees.
Yes.
On the dean's list.
Correct.
On the honor roll.
Yes.
And no one in our family has done that.
No.
My husband graduated with an associate's degree.
Sure.
On the dean's list in the National Honor Roll.
Yeah.
But that was different. And it doesn't matter because he's not blood kin to you. And she kept saying, like, oh, well, this cousin or that cousin.
Yep.
And the truth is, you're the only one. And you are it. And it's like, so I'm not sure where all this other stuff is coming from. And why? I don't understand why it's a competition.
No.
Because it's not like you're going, God, I'm so much smarter than all of my cousins.
No.
Or I'm the smartest one in the family.
No.
I say that about you all the time.
Sure.
But it's fine. It's like whatever. But it's also true.
Right. Right.
You know,
right.
and I've actually had friends of mine who listen to this, and they're like, God, Annika's so smart.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
Stop it.
what am I? Chopped
Yeah.
liver?
Hey, what am I, dumb?
She's so smart.
You call me dumb?
And you are a good
And you know
co-host.
what? You're entertaining. You know what you are? You're there.
And you're funny.
Yeah. Well, you sure were
She's
there.
smart and you're there.
Yeah.
And we can hear you.
Yeah.
So you speak clearly. Well, that's nice.
Yeah. I think sometimes with Grandma, too, specifically, I don't know why she does it with like, oh, well, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so did so well. And like, I think some of my cousins went to college for a period of time. Fine. And I'm not saying like, I'm better than you. If I think that person,
Didn't only one of them graduate? Isn't Aaron the only one that graduated?
I'm not even sure. You see, you're under the assumption that I know anything about them, other than the fact that they didn't go to school. That's kind of all I know, and the bad things about them. That's it. But like, I don't understand why she needs to do that too. But it's always irritating to me. But the fact that she tells me that, oh, when I was in school, when I was taking all those classes, and it changes because it's always like, oh, well, when I went to school and I graduated and I was in high school or college, and then, well, I never got to go to college because I had 6 kids to raise and no one ever helped me. And I was like, but I don't know why you can't just be like, I'm proud of you or good job. Yeah,
I know.
It has to be a whole thing.
It is very curious to me.
Yeah.
But it's like when I was one day just kind of bemoaning the fact that I had to pay $8,000 for Grace's braces.
Yeah.
And she was all, well, I had to buy braces for my kids, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, and I bet that wasn't even equivalent to $8,000 even back then.
No.
You know, and I know money was much different, but you know how they do that thing where they're like, if we adjusted this to be this, I'm sure even the adjusted wouldn't be close to that.
No.
But whatever.
It is silly.
It is silly. But that has nothing to do with our topic. But we actually did get to our topic, which I love. We talked about our topic. Yeah. We talked about our side topics, which, you know, the state of the world, which is shit.
Your side topic, eh?
Our side topic. It's like a side piece, but a side topic.
But worse.
And that brings us to the end.
Yeah. Well, and I know it's the end of Black History Month, and I know that the theme was, like, arts, black arts. I just think that it's important to remember that art is resistance, that your existence as a marginalized person is resistance, and I think resistance to oppression is necessary. So, use your art, whatever that is, your paintings, your writing. I always say that I went to an art school, but I was never artsy. My writing is what I consider to be my art, you know? But art is resistance, and I think that use whatever medium you want, whatever that looks like. But resist, y'all. Be aware.
All right, and I am going to, since we talked about Black history and art and different things, I'm going to recommend a movie. So if y'all haven't seen this movie, watch The Woman King with Viola Davis.
My God, I want to watch it so bad.
Phenomenal.
Okay.
I mean, it is violent.
What is it on?
HBO? I think it's on Max.
Okay.
I think so. I watched it and I was horrified by just the shit that happened.
Yeah.
But she's amazing. And the story is amazing. And just watching it, I was like, well, I just learned even more history. Mm-hmm. And people are horrible. Yeah. That's the base of that story. Yeah. People are horrible. Okay. Anyway, but it's an amazing movie. Yeah. Viola Davis is amazing, but she's amazing in everything. I'm ready. So you really could watch her in anything and be just like, she's great.
Oh my God, I also have a recommendation.
Yes.
Are you ready? Go onto the YouTubes, or if you have Fox TV, whatever, go watch Club Shay Shay. It's by a former football player, former Baltimore Ravens, Shannon Sharp, and he sits down with the ones I've seen have been with like Black celebrities. So Cat Williams, not Cat Stevens, and Monique are the two that I watch, and they're phenomenal, and it gets into the nitty and gritty, and it's just go learn their experience, Black joy, Black truth, and I think it's important. So Club Shay Shay
on the YouTubes,
and Woman King on the Habu, HBO maybe. Yeah. Google it.
All right. Anyway, but I gotta go.
Girl, I gotta go pee. To do. So
all right. So we will be back next week.
Yeah.
And next week we also might get to our actual topic, which would be lovely. We never promised.
Yeah.
Because we never know. Because once we start chit-chatting.
Well, because why, girl? Tangents are topics.
Tangents are topics.
Yes, girl.
And if you would like to suggest a topic.
Yeah.
Or you want your own tangent. Or you just want us to read whatever. Send us a...
Call in.
Call in now.
Yeah, right.
Send us an email. It would seem as though at gmail.com, and we will read it, and we might read it on the air, If it comes, we'll read it.
You know what? If you don't want us to read it, put that in the headline.
Yes,
Thanks.
Yes. Start with that.
Yeah.
Because I already made that mess. Again, sorry, Lori Lee. But
Yeah,
I'm learning.
Yeah, but we'll see you next whatever day.
We won't see you.
You'll hear me talking, bitch.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
It would seem as though